Okay, we're on the record on State versus Loyd. Mr. Loyd's present with his attorneys. The state attorney's office is present. Mr. Loyd is wearing a long sleeve, sort of burgundy civilian shirt, civilian pants. He's got on shoes, but he is shackled. His feet are underneath the table and cannot be seen from anywhere in the courtroom by the jury. The mask mandate in the Orange County Courthouse has been lifted by the chief judge. So if you do not want to wear a mask, you may remove them or you may leave them on. It's up to you. All right, let's bring the jury.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that's loud enough.
Jury's coming in. Hang tight.
State recognized presence of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice Sunday. It was a beautiful day, so I hope everybody's relaxed and ready to go. The chief judge has lifted the mask mandate here at the Orange County Courthouse, so if you choose not to wear your mask, you can take it off or you can leave it on. It's completely up to you, all right? The defense is still presenting their witnesses. Mr. Lenneman, you may call your next witness. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Madam Clerk, this could be a composite. Good afternoon, Mr. Robinson.
Hold on, you still haven't called him. You need to call him.
Good morning, Mr. Lemon.
I haven't sworn him in, so you need to call him.
The defense would call Christopher Robinson.
You recognize the gentleman on the screen as Mr. Robinson?
I do.
State, you recognize him as Mr. Robinson?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, sir, if you can raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you may inquire.
Would you tell me your name, sir?
My name is Christopher Robinson.
And how are you employed?
I'm a private forensic consultant in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hold on one second. That's the computer, because I've turned down the court's volume. All right, let's try it again. All right, go ahead.
And can you give me an overview of your experience, education, and otherwise?
Yes, sir. I received my Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from Berry College in Rome, Georgia in May of 1995. I began my career in the forensic field at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in July of 1998. I worked there as a firearm examiner from the 98 to 2008. I then became the director of the crime lab for the City of Atlanta Police Department and worked there for 2.5 years in that position. I then started my own company, Chris Robinson Forensics, and I've had that now for the past 11 years. During my career, I've logged over 15,000 hours on the comparison microscope and performed over 100,000 forensic examinations. I've been to 8 Armors courses, I've been to 8 manufacturing plants, and I've currently worked over 12,000 actual cases.
Now, there come an occasion when I reached out to you to hire you on this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in the course of hiring you, I provided you some documents to review?
Yes, sir.
Was one of the set of documents I provided to you was the report of Richard Ruth, who is the FDLE firearms examiner, and his bench notes?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to the jury what bench notes are?
Bench notes are essentially the worksheets created by the analyst. For example, if we look at a weapon, it'd be a weapon worksheet. A cartridge case would be a cartridge case worksheet. The bullet will be a bullet worksheet. It details what they examined, what they saw when they measured the bullet weight, the dimensions of the lands and grooves, the number of lands and grooves, anything that they could determine about the particular piece of evidence that they were examining.
Was there a particular bullet labeled Q13 that was found at the south entrance of the Walmart?
Yes, sir.
Did you have an opportunity to review both his report and his bench notes in regards to that particular item?
Yes, sir.
What was that item?
This item was the bullet, a piece of a bullet jacket that was recovered from the southeast entrance of the Walmart area parking lot.
Okay. Was that bullet enough to actually identify with particularity where it came from?
Okay, so when we examined, Mr. Ruth examined this particular piece of evidence, and so did I. We both came to the same conclusion with regard to the bullet weight. We looked at the rifling structure of the bullet itself. It has the same rifling structure as the firearm that was used by Officer Clayton. It has the same overall consistent measurements between the lands and grooves on the test fires from the officer's weapon to the actual lands and grooves on this particular piece of evidence. So according to Mr. Ruth and myself, it is most consistent with having been fired from Officer Clayton's service weapon.
Was it eliminated from Mr. Lloyd's weapon?
It was based on the overall characteristics of the guns, the caliber, the type of rifling. So all the weapons that were handled by Mr. Lloyd, they were eliminated as being consistent with firing this particular bullet jacket.
Now, I kind of glossed over, was there a time when the Orange or the Orlando Police Department sent you all the ballistic material, including the firearms and the casings and the projectiles?
Yes, sir, they did.
And when you were talking about that you reviewed that stuff, did you look at that particular bullet?
I did.
Okay. I had talked to you yesterday about a sheet that is identified which has 10 photographs of various projectile. Did you have an opportunity to review that in the course of your responsibility?
Yes, sir.
And here it's marked as Defense Exhibit 1. Can you tell me which bullet is the one that is, or projectile, or piece of projectile is the one that is identified as coming from the south end of Walmart?
Do you have the photograph for me to review, sir? I'm sorry, I can't see it on my end.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
There you
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the Q13. You can see it identified right there. Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you describe what that bullet looks like to you?
Yes, sir. It is a portion of a bullet with a portion of the jacket is missing. That means that this particular projectile has struck something very hard and has caused
Wait.
about half of the bullet to be lost. It weighs 88.0 grains, and it should weigh approximately 124 grains. So it's lost a significant amount of weight due to striking the surface of something extremely hard.
So there's been testimony by several officers that particular fragment looks old and worn out. Can you give me your opinion about that?
No, sir. I see no evidence. You can see on those photographs that you just had in your hand, they all look the same. It's a copper jacketed projectile. There's no tarnish. There's no corrosion to the jacket. It looks like it's a new jacket. Now, the problem is it looks abraded. Abraded means it has abrasions on it from, again, it's spinning, and then as it strikes a material, it's impacting that, so it's abrading the sides of the projectile. It is damaged. So again, to the untrained eye, they may think that bullet looks old, but again, Mr. Ruth and myself, neither one of us said that this bullet appeared to be old. No corrosion was observed. It just has damage to it, sir.
Now, was there a particular substance that was discovered on this projectile?
Yes, sir. There was a white colored residue on the base of the jacket, but again, this bullet could have possibly ricocheted, or it struck something and then it impacted this concrete area. When a bullet's spinning and it impacts concrete or a hard surface, it creates this white substance that you see on the base of the projectile. Again, it's the byproduct of impacting an extremely hard surface. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a residue that's created by the two surfaces impacting each other.
And when bullets ricochet, is it unusual for them to hit more than one item?
Oh, no, sir. You have to understand, this particular bullet was traveling about 1,000 feet per second. So when it hits something, it can hit multiple things before it slows the bullet down and it finally comes to rest wherever it loses its energy.
Okay. Going on to the next area. Mark that. Yeah. Oh, thanks. We have an opportunity at some point to discuss both the vest and the shirt of Sergeant Clayton?
Yes, sir, we did.
And in the course of doing that, did you review a number of photographs?
Yes, sir, I did.
Judge, I'd move in, I think by agreement, identification V.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, this will be received without objection as defense composite exhibit number 18, consisting of, how many pages is that? 10 pages. Is it 10 photographs?
Yes.
10 photographs.
Do you have the photographs that we are talking about in front of you?
I do. I have them on a disc, but I do not have the individual photographs in front of me. Not at this moment, but I can get them if I need to, sir.
Yeah, why don't you get those, and it will save some time.
Okay. All right. And do I need to share my screen then, sir? I guess what we're going to do here? Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, let me see how we're going to It's okay. All right. Okay, it says the host is disabled participant screen sharing, sir. So I need to be allowed to share my screen.
Okay, so these items that are in front of you are
Yes, sir.
Identified by a number, correct?
They are.
Okay. So I want to talk to you about what I asked you to do and look at in regards to that material. Oh, you can screen share according to.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me see here. Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Hang on. Let me pull this over, sir. Sorry. Okay. We're looking at the vest
Yeah.
that was worn by.
Hold on a
Go
second,
ahead.
Chris. What did I ask you to do in regards to the vest and the shirt that was worn by
Okay. You asked me to first of all. Okay. I'm sorry.
Lieutenant?
You asked me to first of all examine the autopsy, to look at the wounds on Officer Clayton's body. And then you asked me to look at both the vest worn by Officer Clayton and her shirt that was worn by Officer Clayton to see if the wounds on the body correspond to the defects that were observed in the vest and the shirt.
Okay, and so what we're talking about there is the vest, and it's actually labeled photograph 18 in the discovery?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me what that is?
This is the front of the vest, and you see the stickers that were placed on the vest when they examined the vest. You can see it says vest front 1, vest front 2, and vest front 3 is what they observed the defects that were in the front of the vest.
When you say defects, what do you mean?
It means that these are the bullet defects where the projectiles actually passed through the vest itself.
Okay. Now, before we talk about that one, I want you to go to 17.
17, okay, yes, sir.
Now, at some point, Mr. Robinson, you were asked to look at Mr. Loyd's vest. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were examining that for possible bullet holes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you did not note any.
I did not.
Okay. And so here we see in 17, there are some items that are placed next to the vest. Can you explain to the jury first what those items are, how they work, what is important, and then I want you to talk about Mr. Loyd's vest in comparison to Lieutenant Clayton's vest, okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, at the top of the screen, that's a ballistic plate. That is the plate that's designed to stop the projectile from passing into the body of an individual who wears the vest. So it's about a 1/4 inch plate. I believe this is rated at 3A. The rating tells you the types of bullets that it will stop. So again, this is the critical piece in the vest. The vest is just a carrier. You stick these plates inside the vest, and when you slide those in there, those plates are what stop the projectiles. Now, the yellow piece that you see there is called a trauma pad. You wear that in coordination with the plate. What that does is, if the bullet does strike the plate, then it dissipates the energy through that trauma pad, so your body's not taking the full brunt of that projectile, because when it hits that metal plate, it's just going to reverberate through your body, but the trauma pad will dissipate that. So it protects your body, again, as a secondary feature of the vest.
And if someone is struck by a bullet that hits the initial black piece, in your opinion, professional opinion, what kind of things happen to the person who is standing up wearing that?
Again, you're going to feel depending on the type of bullet now. I mean, the more powerful the bullet, the more energy is going to be exerted. So when that energy, which it's going to be somewhere between 330, 350 to 400 foot-pounds of energy. So when that projectile strikes that plate, again, it's a steel plate. So when the plate, it reverberates and it starts to move, you can feel the impact in your body. Now, again, it's going to stop the bullet, but the energy is going to be impacted into your body. So you're still going to feel a significant amount of force impacting your body, and it's going to do some type of damage, bruising. It can cause, bones to be broken in your ribs. Even though the projectile stopped, the plate can still do damage to your body because the energy of the bullet itself.
Okay, and when you compared Mr. Loyd's vest, was there a difference between his vest and Lieutenant Clayton's vest?
Yes, sir. Essentially, what Mr. Loyd has is called soft body armor. It's just a softer. Again, it is a 3A rated vest. It will stop bullets, but again, the vest is flexible. That's a plate that you see in front of you in this picture. It's an actual plate, a steel plate. It does not move. It is solid. Mr. Loyd's vest was very soft and you can move it. It's called soft body armor. So it's a different type of vest. It does essentially the same thing. It's not as strong as, this is a ballistic plate. This will stop almost, anything with regards to handguns, where the soft body armor will stop a lot, but it's not the same as this hard body armor that you see in front of you.
When you look at Mr. Loyd's vest in comparison to Lieutenant Clayton's, does Mr. Loyd's vest cover more area in terms of protection than Lieutenant Clayton's?
Yes, in the sense that it is an overall vest. It's rated 3A, and because of the soft body armor, the entire vest around the chest area is, it protects you. In this sense, what you see in front of you, again, I want to explain, that's called a carrier. You place the plates inside the carrier, and therefore the plate is what protects you. So its only protection is that plate. If the vest is struck anywhere besides that plate, the bullets are going to go through just like any normal surface.
Okay, I want you to go back to photograph 18.
Okay.
You had talked about the areas where there were bullet holes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are the 2 bullet holes down at the bottom of this photograph, were they in the protected area of the plate that you were talking about?
No, sir.
Okay. What about the one that is above that particular bullet hole?
No, sir. Unfortunately, where you see the top defect right above the police, in that particular area right there, you can see there's a Velcro that goes across there. You open up the Velcro, you place the plate inside, and unfortunately, in this instance, the plate is lower than the defect. So, no, sir, that defect went straight through the vest.
Okay, based on your examination of the vests and the shirts, and we'll continue to go through that, there were actually 4 different wounds on the body of Officer Clayton that were a result of gunshot wounds, correct?
Correct.
Okay, can you describe those for us?
Yes, you have the one that you see right there in the neck area, which is at the top right. Then you had the shot that you see right there on the left abdomen area. You had a defect that comes through the right buttock and exits her right abdomen area. And then you had the shot to the right thigh.
Okay. Now I want to go back to the one that deals with the chest and neck.
Okay,
Can you pull up 19?
Yes, sir.
Can you turn it around or turn it?
I can, yes, sir. Hang on one second. I gotta move this out of the way. Sorry. Okay, I'm not sure. Hang on a second. I gotta move this because my picture's in a different, okay, let me see right here. Okay. No, sir. When I do try to move it, you see I don't have permission to rotate that. So unfortunately, I'm unable to do that based on the permissions given to me when it was sent. But this picture is upside down, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I'm sorry. But again, you can see where the neck straps are. It goes over your shoulders, and those are your shoulder straps that go on either side of your shoulder. And you can see the defect that's on the right side, right above where the sticker is. I'm sorry, again, Mr. Lindeman, it says best front 1, and the defect is right above that sticker.
So that obviously missed the plate and ended up in the chest and neck of Lieutenant Clayton.
It did.
All right, I want you to go to number 21. This is a blow-up of what you were talking about before?
Yes, sir.
And describe those.
Again, this is kind of unique because on this particular vest here, you see 2 defects. Now, in a minute, when we go through the pictures of the shirt, there's going to be 3 defects. The bullet goes into the vest, and then it exits the vest right there at number 3, and then it re-enters the body of Miss Clayton. You can see through the shirt. So it's in, out, in. But on this vest, you can see where it entered, and then it exited the vest.
So that was just one shot?
It is.
Okay. And then where is the other shot? I think the right.
Okay. Let me continue forward, sir.
I think it's 27.
Okay, yeah, 27. This is on the back of the vest. Again, you can see where it enters. These are just the flaps that help you tuck your vest down into your pants. Therefore, you have a nice tight fit on your vest. There is no protection there. That's just a cloth. There are things that can be purchased that, again, will make the vest heavier, but you could place different panels inside of these flaps. But again, that depends on how much weight you're willing to carry. It's not generally done by service officers because you'd be carrying an extreme amount of weight. So you can see where the bullet enters her right buttock, goes through the vest, or through her pants, through the right abdomen area. And then let me go forward, sir.
Mr. Loyd?
Okay, and then now I'm going to the shirt just to elicit. This is picture 29, Mr. Lindeman.
Okay.
I want the individuals you can see on the right abdomen there. There's actually 2 different defects, and if I go forward, sir, let me continue forward just for a second. I'm sorry, I'm getting out of order. I didn't mean to do that, but again, I just wanted to show you that it's kind of confusing. Going back to what I said earlier, you can see the defects to the right abdomen. It just clipped where it says shirt front 7 there. That's a fold. So it nicked that, and then it went into the shirt at 6, exited at 5, re-entered at 4. So on the shirt there, you can clearly see on that left abdomen how it goes through the shirt. Now, what I was saying was on the right side, it went through her buttock, and as it came through the front of the shirt, it caused 2 different defects because the bullet was kind of exiting, a partial exit according to the autopsy, and then it kind of ricocheted and went back into the body. So there's 2 different defects there, but that again, that's one shot through the buttocks.
Okay.
And then if I go back now, sir, that I got out of order, I didn't mean to do that. This goes back to, and let me go forward. This is the close-up of the defect that was in the shirt itself. This, again, you can see it. It went through the shirt and then down into her neck area. Again, this is, again, I'm sorry, it was upside down. This is how it was given to me. But again, you can see the overall, how it entered and it into the neck area of Miss Clayton.
Okay. And 52 and 53?
Okay. 52, this is the back of the shirt. This is where her shirt is tucked into her pants. Again, it went through the pants, through this shirt, through the vest that I showed you earlier, and then it exited her right abdomen area.
Sir, just a second, please. Folks, we need to take a quick break. If you all step out of the courtroom, please. Thank you.
Hold on, Chris. Okay.
All right, Mr. Loyd has returned to the courtroom. Mr. Loyd, I'm going to remind you again that you are not to address any comments to the audience. All comment, first of all, you're not to be making comments during testimony, and you are not to address the audience. Let's bring the jury back in. State recognized presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes.
All right, welcome back, folks. You may resume, Mr. Lennon.
Thank you. All right, so this is photograph 52. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, sir. This is an overall picture of the back of the shirt worn by Officer Clayton. You can see the entry wound that passed through her right buttock and then exited her right abdomen area. If I go to the next photograph, sir, that's a close-up of the back of the shirt. That just shows you that it passed through her pants, through the shirt, through the vest, and then it exited her right abdomen. Now, when it exited her right abdomen, there was no defects corresponding in the vest itself, only in the shirt.
Okay, I want you to go back to 43 for a second. There appears to be, I guess, 6 pieces of tape on there which identify different things. Have you
Yes,
covered
sir.
all those?
Yes, sir. What I explained earlier, that when you see the shirt front 7, that's just a nick in the shirt. That could have been due to a fold. The shirt could have been folded up close to 6, so when it passed through there, it goes in and it goes out at 5, and it comes back in at 4. On the right side of the shirt there, that's what I was talking about. It went through the right buttock, and then according to the autopsy report, he describes a partial exit where the bullet kind of exits the body and then it re-enters. So again, it's like a double defect there, but that's from the one shot that entered her buttock. So both of those defects on the right side correspond to the entry into her right buttock.
Thank you, sir. Judge, may I publish this to the jury?
You may.
Do you still need for me to share my screen, Mr. Lindeman?
Yeah, I'm going to have you pull up the demonstrative that was prepared by, that I sent you yesterday.
Yes, sir. Hang on one second. I'm to stop sharing just for a second. Let me find it, please. All right. You want this diagram or do you want the actual picture? I'm sorry, sir.
No, this diagram,
Okay.
and then have the picture available.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Actually,
Sorry.
why don't you pull?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why don't you pull up the picture first?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No objection to that exhibit. I don't know what number it is. You didn't have a chart.
Hold on, you can't show exhibits before they're in evidence. Sir, take that down, please.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you. How is that exhibit identified? W? All right, this will be received without objection as defense exhibit number 19. It consists of one photograph. All right, sir, you can put it back up again. Thank you.
May he publish?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Robinson, you can put the picture back up again.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, what is this?
This is a picture of the scene of the shooting during the incident, indicating where different cartridge cases were identified and recovered at the scene.
Now, you also had another, the diagram prepared by the state attorney's office.
I did.
Pull that up.
You want me to bring that up now, sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, you can bring it up.
Yeah. Bring up the diagram?
Yes.
Okay. You can see the diagram, correct?
No.
You cannot?
No.
Okay. All right, hang on a second. Sorry, sir. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I want you to explain to the jury how on, I guess, both Lieutenant Clayton's and Mr. Lloyd's gun, how the casings eject.
Okay, hang on 1 second, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. On both the weapons, they eject to the right and rear of the shooter at about a 45-degree angle. This is due to the fact that the extractors on the right side of the weapon at 3 o'clock and the ejectors on the left side of the weapon at between 7 and 8 o'clock. So when the gun cycles, it ejects the cartridge cases out due to the physics and the nature of the weapon.
Okay. And you had an opportunity to review this diagram.
I did.
Would you agree with the statement that all but marker K are near the area where Lieutenant Clayton was.
Correct. Markers B, C, D, E, G, H, and I are relatively close together on the right side of the screen there, sir. And then K is on the far left of the screen in this diagram.
Now, do you note a Q there?
Yes, sir. The Q was, according to this diagram, I have an A, O, and R. I don't have a Q per this diagram, but I do note the Q there. Yes, sir.
Okay. And LJMN, what firearm did that come from?
Those are the A, O, and R, and F, L, M, and N, and the J are from the 40. So the A, O, R, F, L, M, N, and the J are from the 40 caliber.
So the only one over there that belongs to the SIG, which is Lieutenant Clayton's gun, is K, right?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Now, did you have an opportunity to view the actual shooting taking place?
I did.
And do you recall that there was a point where Lieutenant Clayton was running towards the area where she ends up, and that she fires her gun as she's running from behind, and the bullet actually hits the concrete?
I did. Yes, sir. I saw that.
And is that the area where the red is?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So if she fired from there and she's running, what direction would the casing go?
And again, if you do what you just did again, sir, when you bring your arm to the rear, see, now you've inverted the gun, which means you've turned the gun upside down. So what I'm telling you, the gun ejects, if I hold it in normal fashion, it ejects right and rear. If you turn the gun upside down, you've changed the whole controls of the weapon. Now it ejects to the left instead of to the right. And now if you turn the gun upside down, it's going to kind of eject toward the left and rear of the shooter, but it's going to eject it toward the ground more than, the other one would be up into the air, and then it's going to land back 6 to 8 feet. If you turn the gun upside down, it's going to go left and rear, but it's going to impact the ground much sooner.
Okay, so let's assume for the hypothetical, if she didn't turn it upside down and she fired, which direction would it go?
To the left.
To the left being like left of A?
Left of the shooter. Say if you turn your gun like that, it's going to go to the left of the, instead of to the right, which almost every gun does. If you invert the gun, it's going to go to the opposite side of your body, to your left. And if you're running away now, it's going to go to the left of the weapon. Let's just say that, instead of to the right of the weapon.
Okay, so hypothetically, let's first take that she doesn't turn the gun around. Okay?
Okay.
She's running from the area which is going to be, let's say, close to, you see A?
I do.
Okay, and if you move a couple over there, like the second one that goes over, she's in that area,
Okay.
and she was running towards Q. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay.
I do.
And she has the gun regular. She doesn't have it turned upside down, and she fires a shot into the ground. So her gun is pointed downward to some extent, that it's the bullet's hitting the ground, and you can see it. You follow me?
I do.
So where would the casing go in that circumstance?
If the gun's in normal fashion, the cartridge case is still going to be ejected. Now, the angle of your gun, if you start to angle it downward, it's going to still eject to the right and rear. It's just going to eject the cartridge case more up into a perpendicular fashion, and then it's going to come back down. It can bounce around. But if you have the gun at a downward angle, you start to change that, but it's still going to go right in rear of the shooter as long as she's got it in normal fashion. It's just going to be a different, angle that it ejects.
And so if that's the case, it's going right and rear. If she's on the concrete heading towards Q, where would that casing supposedly end up?
It would be like you said, over there in the concrete, and it would be back toward the area where all the rest of her cartridge cases were found if the gun's held in normal fashion.
Okay, and what happens if it's held upside down?
Well, then it would eject to the left, and then I could understand the cartridge case being in some kind of position like it is, because it can eject onto the ground. It's cylindrical, it's smooth, it can bounce, it can roll. What I'm telling you is where it would hit the ground, not where it would end up. But yes, sir, I would understand that. If you told me the gun was held inverted, then it makes sense. It would go the opposite direction. But if the gun's held in normal fashion as she's running away, it would eject to the right where all the rest of the cartridge cases were found.
And if she's on the concrete, when the bullet is fired, it would go left. I'm talking about if it's inverted now.
That's correct.
Inverted, it's going to go left. And because the gun is pointed down, is it going to shoot out and go down, or is it continue to go up?
It's gonna go up slightly, because when you invert it, it's gonna be right and rear, but it's gonna eject it in a downward angle, but it's gonna be, depending on the angle of the weapon. But yes, sir, it's gonna eject it in a downward angle, not upward like this in normal fashion. It's gonna eject it downward into the concrete. Yes, sir.
Okay. And now, hypothetically, if she is standing near that second blue, 2 over from A, you see what I'm talking about? And she fires in the direction of where Mr. Loyd is, where would that bullet go?
She's aiming where Mr. Loyd is. It would eject to the right and rear, but I mean, again, that distance right there, it would eject to the right and rear. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you're saying at that second blue pillar like you're talking about, or the blue column right there, yes, sir, she's shooting at Mr. Loyd, it's going to go right and rear at an angle. And again, they could roll, they can bounce, they can travel a little bit further, but it's 6 to 8 feet in a normal fashion, normal fly. And that's where they impact the ground, 6 to 8 feet from the shooter. Then they can bounce, they can roll. So that would give it a little more distance. So yes, sir, I can understand that now. If you said she's at that second pillar, yes, sir, then I would understand. If she's shooting toward Mr. Loyd in that fashion, that makes a little bit of sense. Yes, sir.
Those are all the questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon.
Thank you.
Mr. Buxton, you may inquire.
Morning, Mr. Robinson.
Good morning, sir.
Now, in the beginning of your direct examination, you said that you reviewed Richard Ruth's, who is the Florida Department of Law Enforcement firearm analyst. You reviewed his bench notes and conclusions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you performed your examination on the same casings and projectiles that Mr. Ruth did, right?
I did, yes, sir.
And your conclusions were the same as Mr. Ruth's, correct?
Correct.
Your conclusions were that the .40 caliber casings that were recovered from the Dixon scene came from the defendant's .40 caliber Smith & Wesson, correct?
Correct.
And the .40 caliber casings that were found at the Walmart scene came from the defendant's .40 caliber Smith & Wesson.
Correct.
And the 9mm casing found at the Captain Carter scene came from the defendant's 9mm Glock 17.
Correct.
And the projectile from Sade Dixon's body and the projectiles from Debra Clayton's body came from the defendant's .40 caliber Smith & Wesson.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, referring to the diagram that you have shared with the jury. I'm putting it up for the jury. Hang tight. Referring to the marker K on the diagram, which I believe is what Mr. Lenneman you were discussing.
Yes, sir.
Letter K designates a 9mm casing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Fired from Lieutenant Clayton's 9mm, 6 hour.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me give you a scenario and tell me if it makes sense. If Lieutenant Clayton is running with her back facing the entrance of Walmart, she is running away from Walmart and running away from Mr. Loyd, who's shooting at her. Okay? You follow me so far? She's running towards the parking lot with her Sig Sauer in her right hand. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And as she's running, her Sig Sauer is inverted, pointing towards the ground. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And she pulls the trigger.
Yes, sir.
Will that casing go in a direction consistent where marker K is on the diagram?
Yes, sir. That does make sense. If you tell me it's inverted, it's going to go to the left, not to the right. So it would be different than all the rest. If all the rest were fired in normal fashion, and then you tell me K was fired inverted, yes, sir, that makes sense why it's so far from all the rest.
And you have reviewed the video, correct?
I did.
Would you agree with me that in the video, it shows Lieutenant Clayton running away from Walmart and from Mr. Loyd with the gun pointed down and a projectile strikes the pavement behind her?
I agree. Yes, sir.
You examined Mr. Loyd's vest, you said, correct?
I did. Yes, sir.
And am I correct that you saw no indication that this trained law enforcement officer ever fired a projectile that struck Mr. Loyd's vest?
No, sir. There were no defects observed in the vest.
Okay. Shifting gears to the projectile jacket that was found on the south entrance of Walmart. I believe you designated as Q13, right?
Yes, sir.
That was the projectile found by Detective Shane Overfield, right?
Yes, sir.
That was a copper jacket, correct?
It was.
Not a brass jacket.
That's correct.
And would you agree with me that copper jackets don't tarnish if left in the elements as quickly as a brass jacket would?
Absolutely.
All right, so you can't say when this jacket was initially placed there, correct?
I cannot.
Okay, and like Richard Ruth's analysis, you can't say that it came from Sergeant Clayton's Sig Sauer, right?
I cannot.
You can, and you say it can't be excluded either.
That's correct.
Okay, and am I correct that there are numerous types of firearms that could leave the markings that you saw on that jacket?
Yes, sir. Any 6 right firearm, which means there's 6 lands and grooves of the right hand twist that have the same measurements as the Sig Sauer, and there's numerous in that particular area. Yes, sir. I have to say that it is consistent with any number of different guns with that same design. Correct.
But for the sake of argument, let's assume it came from Lieutenant Clayton's Sig Sauer. Your analysis cannot say in what sequence of shots that projectile was fired, whether it was shot 1, 2, or 10.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
Your analysis can't show what threat Lieutenant Clayton would have been perceiving at the time she fired that projectile, assuming it came from her gun.
No, sir. There's no way to determine that. For me to determine that.
Last thing I want to talk to you about is Lieutenant Clayton's vest in her shirt and her pants that you discussed earlier.
You need me to bring those photos up, or oh, you're okay?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
You indicated that the injuries that were on Lieutenant Clayton's body were consistent with the defects you found in her shirt and her pants and her vest. They were in the same locations.
They are.
And none of the gunshot wounds that Lieutenant Clayton suffered initially struck the vest plates, correct?
It did not.
They all struck areas of her body that were not protected by the vest plates.
That is correct.
And the whole purpose of body armor or these vest plates is to protect vital organs in the body, right?
It is, yes, sir.
So if the defendant was aiming towards the vest, necessarily he would be aiming towards vital organs of the body like heart and lung.
That is true.
Being shot even in the vest plate can still cause some catastrophic damage, can it?
Oh, absolutely. The shock and the force that's exerted on a steel plate. Your body's not made of steel. Your body's made of tissue, organs, as you just stated, muscle, tissue. When that plate gets struck by a projectile traveling so fast, it causes that plate to reverberate and move in a fashion that your body takes the shock. Now, the plate does dissipate the energy somewhat, but yes, sir, you take I've observed individuals who've been shot in the plates, and it does, sir, it can be catastrophic. Yeah, I agree with you, absolutely.
And could even be deadly.
It could be, depending on the caliber and the energy of the bullet, absolutely.
You would agree that if Lieutenant Clayton was shot in the right buttock as she ran away, and that projectile fractured her hip bone, that is not an area covered by a vest plate, right?
It is not.
And if she was shot in the back of her upper right thigh as she ran away from Mr. Loyd, that area is not protected by her vest or a vest plate, right?
It is not.
And you've watched the surveillance video, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would agree that at the end of the encounter, Lieutenant Clayton was lying on her back or her side area in the parking lot, right?
I understand, yes, sir.
And having fallen to the ground after being shot in the right buttock and the upper right thigh, right?
Yes, sir.
And you agree that the video shows that the defendant ran over towards her and stood over her.
I do agree with that.
And fired additional shots.
He did.
And right after that additional shot, Lieutenant Clayton's hand immediately went to her neck where that wound was located, correct?
I do agree with that.
And the muzzle of his .40 caliber firearm was only about 3 feet away from her exposed neck when he shot her that last time, right?
Yes, sir. According to the video, that's what it appears to be. Yes, sir.
So she was shot at pretty close to point blank range.
I guess you could call, I wouldn't say point blank just because 3 feet. Point blank to me means it's a contact, a near contact. It's a close range shot, sir. It's a close range shot. Yes,
Fair enough. And you agree that her vest plate does not cover the area of her neck where the defendant shot her at about 3 feet away as she lay on the ground, already suffering from multiple gunshot wounds.
I agree.
Thank you, sir. No other questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Mr. Robinson, when you say 3 feet, that is a minimum. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's approximate. Yes, sir. I'm looking at a video. I mean, it's approximately 3 feet. It could be further. It could be, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just saying that's what it appears. It's an apparent 3 to 4 feet, but that's on a video now. I didn't measure anything. There was no stippling identified on the body. There was no gunpowder identified on the body. So gunpowder generally stops at 3 feet. So therefore, it had to be at least 3 feet away because there was no gunpowder found on the body.
Okay. And you viewed the video that she had her gun held up and she was shooting at Mr. Loyd while she was laying down.
Yes, sir. And that is, again, this diagram that's up on the screen, you can clearly see the cartridge cases surrounding her. So she is clearly firing her weapon as she's on the ground. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want to talk about this diagram again and what the prosecutor talked about in regards to this shot being fired, because I'm a little confused. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's assume we're talking about an angle, because we have a video that shows the actual point when she is pointing her gun behind her and fires. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's assume she is in the middle of that, between A and I. She's in the middle of that. Let's say it's closer to the blue pole that's at the end, the 2 over from A.
Okay.
So if you would make an X on this so we can see.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see. Okay, annotate. So draw. Okay, so you will.
Yeah, imagine she's between the last pole, right, no, over here. No, go all the way over to the other side. Yeah, that pole.
Okay.
Okay, and that she's running towards Q.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now she fires her shot. Let's say she fires her shot in the middle of that. So if you can circle the middle.
Okay. That's a wide circle, but yes, sir.
Okay. So now you said that that shot would go, I think you said because it was held upside down, it would go left to right?
It would go toward the left there. It would go toward the K area, but from where this is circled at, that would be a significant distance. And like you indicated earlier, it's going to eject down into the ground because you've inverted the weapon. So it's going to eject downward very rapidly. So again, K is a great distance from where it would be if the shot's fired from in that area where I have circled. Correct.
Okay. So now I want you to draw a line.
Okay.
And what I'm going to ask you so we can put this in evidence is you're going to email this to me. I'm going to have it marked, and we're going to submit it as an exhibit, okay?
Okay.
You need to be able to send this to me, okay? So now imagine she's at the blue pole where she begins, right?
Okay.
And then she fires towards Mr. Loyd.
Okay.
And show me the pattern of the ejection. If it's right at a 45-degree angle, where would it go?
In this area.
Okay. Now you're placing her body. Place her body where she is actually turned. She is turned in the direction of Mr. Loyd. She's not standing straight. She's turned.
Okay.
Okay. Where would it go? Where would it go?
You're saying if she's running like we're talking about?
Yeah, she's running and.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me clear that then. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, sir. I got you. Okay, so if she's running. Now, I'm sorry, my fault. Now, it's not going to be exactly 45 degrees anymore because the gun's inverted. Okay. So if she's running and holding the gun rearward, it would eject somewhere in this area. You know, as she's running and the gun's upside down, it's going to eject backward and to the left here, but it's going to be very close. It's not going to be 45 anymore. It's going to be like a 30 degree, 25 degree. So somewhere in this area, very close to, as she's running along that line, because again, the gun's upside down. It's going to eject the cartridge case down into the ground there. So it's going to be very close to her as she's running.
So the bullets that are marked hers, HIQ, I want to make sure I'm correct. HIQ, G.
It's BC. DEGHIK, and then the Q. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I see it right here. So all of those are hers.
Okay. So between the one that goes down and the one that goes over, that's your estimate when she's holding the gun and fires, if she fires, that's where the casing would end up in that direction.
That's where it would be. Yes, sir. It'd be on her left, very close to that path that she's running because the gun's inverted.
And so with that in mind, would HIQ, well, I don't want to get her bullets wrong. Would HIQ We know Q is not part of that. G, E, all those would be within distance of where the casings are recovered.
Yes, sir. I mean, but see, she continues on that path as you're stating toward Q. And then when she gets to that area and she's shooting, yeah, that all makes sense. B, C, even the B and C are a little bit far from me, but again, they can bounce and roll, so that's fine. But the B, C, D, E, G, H, I, no problem. That's how the gun ejects, right and rear in normal fashion. The K, though, you can clearly see it is 15 to 20. It is a long distance from all the rest of these cartridge cases.
Okay. And you would agree with me, Judge, I'd move this into evidence. We have to have it emailed to us because of technology.
Mr. Boxman?
If they can just do a card for identification.
I'd like to be able to see it after it's printed out before I agree to that. It looks like it's
Yeah, I'm going to reserve on this just to see what we get from
Okay.
on the email, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, the one other area I want to talk to you about is, have you been involved in scenes where there's a missing casing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you would agree with me that it's important to know,
Sustain.
is it important to know where that casing is to determine where the gun was fired or the vicinity of?
Absolutely.
Those are all the questions I have, Judge.
All right, may this witness be excused? State,
Yes.
defense?
Yes.
State? No objection, Your Honor. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Robinson. You are free to
Okay,
go.
thank you. Okay, one more question. So I'm gonna make a copy of this and email it to you, Mr. Lindeman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, this seems like a good time to take your morning break. So why don't you all do that?